broodstock that's got a high load of EHP, then even if your hatchery is clean, it'll immediately become recontaminated. I want to mention that IAQUA and Blue Archipelago are starting some efforts to try to breed for resistance to EHP, because within a pond we certainly see animals that grow to a much larger size that seem to have greater tolerance for EHP. So we'll test that in the very near future. Once again, maturation feed is the huge issue, not to use live feeds. At the very minimum, they should be frozen. Dr. Flegel recommends pasteurizing or using gamma radiation or using pellets. But frozen would be the bare minimum to try to deactivate the EHP. And then disinfecting the ponds, once again, Robin's already pointed out, it's calcium oxide. This method, I'd be happy to send you that method. Once again, it comes from Dr. Flegel's publication. It's just a couple pages, but it very clearly describes how to disinfect an earthen pond. And then, of course, from a pond point of view, the post larvae should also be free of EHP. And you can test that by PCR. So, we've kind of gone through EMS and EHP. I thought it would be good to go through one other exercise, and this is a biosecurity plan. If you have your own hatchery or you have your own farm, then you should have a biosecurity plan, and everybody in your operation should know what the plan is. And so let me just go through the steps. First, you identify the hazards. Then you assess which hazards are the most important, have a risk assessment. Then you determine how you're going to manage those risks, and then you communicate it. Everybody should know the plan. Everybody in your operation knows what to do. And then at a higher level, for example, with the Department of Fisheries, how to do a biosecurity plan for a whole zone with multiple farms so that a whole zone is protected. So these, if you look at biosecurity plans, whether it's for salmon, koi, or shrimp, they're all very, very similar. The typical hazards are, number one, the animals. The animals might be infected. Number two, the water. Then it's equipment, it's animal health. That would be, for example, genetic resistance, or maybe use of immunostimulants in the feed. Vectors, people, and then management. So those are the standard hazards. Now, here we've just taken the liberty of identifying which are the critical ones. So these are the critical ones for both EMS and EHP in the hatchery. Number one is the broodstock source. So you have to use broodstock that are free of those diseases. Number two is genetic resistance. If possible, I should learn to use the word tolerance. Genetic tolerance. Use animals that are tolerant of the disease, that can give you higher survival. So, Robin's mentioned that some animals are more tolerant of the EMS toxin. We found the same thing. Same experience that Mexico has, works in Malaysia. So there's a big genetic component for resistance or tolerance. Then disinfecting tanks and equipment, making sure the water is disinfected, and then that huge one of not using live maturation foods.
Okay.